A very good morning to you. It is July, happy new month, and they call this the winter in Nairobi. So it's been very cold. A lot of us are walking around padded. And if you have a newborn, you're probably wondering how to maneuver this season. And so this morning, we're going to be looking at cold weather tips for newborns. And of course, just looking at babies at this very critical young age, especially this being a very cold month, and just looking ahead how to keep your baby warm, how to swaddle your baby, how to know if your baby is too warm, even as you're trying to keep them away from the cold. This morning, I'm joined by Dr. Maureen Morethi. She's a neonatologist, and she'll be walking us through exactly what you need to do. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, yes. Neonatology, Dr. Before we get into it, as a new mother, you are advised to be in good contact with a pediatrician or to have a pediatrician on call. But let's talk about neonatology and what exactly a neonatologist does.
Well, it sounds like a big word, but basically neonatology is where you subspecialize. So you go to school, you do your regular medicine, finish, come back and do pediatrics, and then go and work a bit, get some experience, and then come back and take care of the smallest of the small. So essentially a neonate is anybody who is less than 28 days, depending on how early they arrive, 6.5 months, 7 months, all the way to how late they arrive. And just being able to walk the journey to stabilize them, get the mother to go home, allow her to settle, and just allow this baby to thrive, whether or not they arrived in the best of circumstances. Okay. So that's what we do.
Right. And we have another guest in studio, by the way. Apologies. We have our baby, baby here, baby Priya. So this is our little baby who will be guiding us instructionally in terms of Dr. will be walking us through how to swaddle your baby, how to keep your baby warm. So thanks for joining us, Priya. So let's begin this conversation, Dr. by how to keep your baby warm, and especially in this cold weather. So, you have a baby, you've brought them home from hospital. So the question is, it's extremely cold. So walk us through that very fast bit of this conversation.
Today it's about 16 degrees this morning, at least when I got out. So we are cold in general, but babies forget to breathe when they get cold. So that's something that a lot of us have been trained, that make sure you dress them up. They have 5 layers, blankets, and a boshori. No, it is not a rite of passage. I think what we need to remember first is what kind of clothing are we putting on our babies. We spend a lot of money in terms of preparing for these babies. Just remember cotton. Cotton works best. It's soft on your skin. It allows it to breathe. It allows you to sweat. And it's easy to clean, and it's readily available. Just a caveat to remember that anything that is pretty is usually not cotton. It tends to be polyester. So moms, as you're going in and you're shopping, look at those tags, buy cotton. Then remember, babies are tiny. Priya is this size. By the time she warms up 3 blankets, this little body with this weight has to warm all that up. So remember, to keep a baby warm is not how many volumes you put on them. They just need 3 layers. If you put 3 cotton layers, a hat, because you find even on this baby, the proportion, the head is the biggest part of the body. You need to keep them warm. The hands and the feet are the easiest temperature gauges for you. So if you just touch and you find your baby is cold, you know, I need to add a layer here. If your baby is crying, they have 3 bundles, and then there are these big blankets all mothers are brought by their shushus, aunties, thinking that I'm helping in keeping you warm. Your baby remains hot, yes, but they are wet inside. Remember, they are sweating, so everything inside is wet. So you have a warm baby in wet clothes, and they tend to cry quite a bit. And the minute you undress them, the baby settles. So remember, 3 layers, cotton, put in a vest. You can have a short-sleeved onesie and a long sleeve on top and a hat. After that, if you have a very light liner to cover, you're good to go. Those layers are enough. As the warm temperatures kick in towards the end of August, beginning of September, drop a layer. So it's never a hard and fast rule. Check the temperature of your baby. They will tell you they are comfortable or they are not. But remember, this little body must warm all those to remain warm.
So you've walked us through the 3 layers. Priya here has this fleece, this little blanket. In terms of swaddling the baby, you know, we talk about the head, the rest of the body. So they're in 3 layers already, but we have this additional, very nice, warm-looking blanket. So just walk us through how best to swaddle this child.
Swaddling techniques are many, but the idea is to remember that baby prayer shouldn't fall out, basically, of where we are. So if you can form a nice triangle of one corner this way, hope you can see that. This is what we are going to use to hold her head in place. And remember, we said the head is the biggest part of the body. So the minute we place her there, you actually just come, think of baby Jesus.
Yeah.
You come and tie a hood around her that way. Pick the lower portion. Remember, we want the legs to remain warm. We don't want her to fall out. We come in and fold that in. Take the shorter corner, which we fold, and you come and hide it on the back side here. So she's snuggled in, then come and pick the final one, and you wrap her in. So there we go.
Okay.
She's in one, but if you look down here, I have no legs hanging out. I'm able to hold her, and she's tucked in. So I know once I have this held, she's not going to fall out.
Yeah.
And you're able to walk around with your baby clear and able to see where she is. And this can be done with any, even just a cotton liner is good enough. This is enough. You don't need this and then another blanket and a duvet to cover. That's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
So
Too much.
Before we go back to the instructional process, a lot of parents associate cold with flu and, you know, sniffles, sneezing. But what are the main risks that cold weather poses to newborns?
Nasal congestion is more it, especially when the air is very cold. So you find we keep saying warm the baby, keep the air if it's possible to warm the room, especially when the temperatures drop. But you'll find when we overdo, it also has its backtrack. So you find I've swaddled the baby this way. Just a mention in terms of what you clean your products with as well.
Right.
If we have loaded enough scent in terms of fabric softeners that has scented, you smell them in passing. This baby sits in them the whole day. So you're going to find the nose is blocked. So baby is blocked, baby is crying, baby is unable to feed. We panic, we've gone to hospital. The minute the baby is just removed, they sneeze, 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 and they settle. So remember, fabric softeners are not one of those.
What would be the best then, the most mild?
The milder soap. Bar soap is good enough.
Okay.
These babies, remember, are not going outside. They are not the age of your son who will come looking from soil from head to bottom.
Yeah.
No, they have sweat and they have milk. And in case a diaper maybe has a seepage, that's what you'd need to soak. But bar soap is good enough, actually, to just wash, rinse through. We're not looking for bleaches. Baby skin absorbs about 3 times what yours and mine does. So keep in mind, whatever products you're going to use, simple, mild, moisturizing, preferably unscented.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So infections, in whatever format, whether they're viral, if it's a flu, if it's a tonsillitis, they come from a bacteria or a virus. They do not come from cold weather. What cold weather does, it just makes us more prone to it. You find our ventilation is poorer, so when it's cold, you find you don't open your windows. So what happens? Whatever we had in terms of little droplet infection concentrates, and the babies are able to pick up more of those. Traditionally, it's our flu season as well, so you'll find the schoolgoers tend to bring a lot more to the home, and we need to talk about how to integrate the newborn into the home, even with the older ones who are there, allowing them to be able to care for this baby, but also preventing infections. Because remember, this age group doesn't have much in terms of treatment. A lot of our treatment for newborns is given as intravenous treatment. So that means you're back in the ward with a baby who can't breathe. So that gives you issues. Yeah. A normal flu for a 2-3-year-old in a newborn becomes a pneumonia, which means they're not able to breathe and they're wheezing, which puts you in the ward. So when you look at it on all corners, there are different issues we need to address. Simply just knowing cold weather, keep them warm, yes. Prevent infection, hand washing.
Yeah.
When you come in to handle a baby, remember you've been out. In whatever format, you are in a matatu, you are in a car, you are in the supermarket, you picked something up on the way home. Wash those hands.
And just Dr. Maureen, let me take you back to the older siblings before we get back into the handling of the baby during the cold weather season. The older siblings, perhaps even toddlers, who are coming in and interacting with this newborn child. And, you know, we're talking about things from flu to rotavirus to a lot of potential infections because, you know, the baby is cute, the baby is new in the home, the older sibling wants to play with them, perhaps touch them, pinch their cheeks. So how to handle that as we get back into the cold weather tips. Let's talk about that before we move too far away from it now that you mentioned it.
So remember, I call babies custodians of germs because they are adventurous and they go everywhere, but they also don't remember that they need to clean their hands. Babies don't arrive today. We talked about that we have about 7 to 9 months that we've prepared. It's important when you know we have a newborn coming in, prepare the older children. Let them know there's a baby coming and let them adjust mentally, socially, to know it's not all going to be about me anymore. Yes. But also give them a role. Remember, this is somebody who has had your undivided attention for 2-3 years. Suddenly, you're going to have cesarean section, a normal delivery, you need healing, and you need help around the house. So what happens to these babies? They want to take the baby and see what's going on. If it's an older girl, she's like, maybe it's like my doll Priya. I can pick the baby up. So you need to teach. And as we teach, we want to teach. First, we have to talk about hygiene. When my kids were growing up, the older ones, it was easier to assign them tasks. When we have visitors, you're the one to show them where to wash their hands. Is there sanitizer in the house? Your work will be to make sure mom has diapers. So give them tasks so that they know. But also teach that when you're sick, baby will get sick. So if you want to touch the baby, remove the feet. Let them hold the feet. The baby is not going to put the feet in their mouth, but the hands will end up in that mouth. So give options available for how to integrate these babies into the home. Please date your children. They cannot move from unabated attention to nothing. So find pockets of time where you can spend a meal with them. Pick out and say, I'll do dinner with you because baby is already asleep. The smaller you are, they're not going to remember. The older ones will remember. So figure how to spread your time across the board for all of them. But teach. Don't assume that we will adjust.
Well noted. And the same, of course, applies to the nannies.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to the cold weather. Daktari, we talked about, you know, the baby communicating to you whether they're too warm or too cold. But let's just give some practical lookout signs. First of all, let's begin with knowing whether the baby is too cold. How then, you know, you would tell that the baby is too cold. You've padded them well, you've swaddled them well, but they still are displaying, you know, shakes here and there. How do you tell if they're too cold? How do you tell if they're too warm, aside from the sweating?
If they're too cold, generally you'll find that they're struggling to breathe. So if you look at the nostrils, they look like they're parting, and you hear maybe a snort as they're trying to breathe. The baby also will not settle. They keep whining, turning, they're just restless. And when you open, you may find that the hands are cold, the feet are cold. This is a baby who may have peed through all the clothes, so you need to get everything out and warm them up actively. Remember, we said babies forget to breathe when they're cold. So if they've been in that state for very long, you're going to start seeing other things. Baby is very tired. You're not hearing any cry anymore. When you look at the mouth and the gums, they look a bit dark. They look blue. And the hands don't look a bright, nice pink as you'd expect. So those are signs where you're saying we are in trouble. If you open the chest, you'll also be able to see there's a lot of work of breathing. They look like they're literally panting to catch a breath. Those are danger signs. You need to run to hospital. We need to see you and we need to address that. But even as you're coming, remove everything that is wet. Warm that baby up actively. And one of the gems we have that I think we haven't utilized fully is what we call kangaroo mother care. So kangaroos typically always get preterm babies. So they crawl up and get into the pouch. So we actually put the babies inside your clothes on your chest. And the way we are wired is your temperature will rise when your baby's temperature is low. If your baby's temperature is up, yours drops to actually just be able to be an incubator of sorts to take care of your child. So that's something you can do practically in your house. Normal weight babies are born between 2.5 kilos and 3.5 kgs. So if your baby ranges on the lower end, this is something that you can do daily just to be able to help these babies get warm. So babies who are hot fuss a lot. You won't hear the snorting, but that baby will not settle. The minute you open up the baby this way and slide your hand here, you find it's wet. All the beautiful hats that you've put on them, they are all wet. So your baby is warm, but they are wet.
They're
so
uncomfortable.
They're very uncomfortable, yes. So it's liken it to I drop you in Turkana, for lack of a better word now, and it's 39 degrees. You're dressed the way you are. You're going to be sweaty. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're just not settled. That is what you have done to your baby. Right. So remove them and return what normal temperature looks like, which is 36.5 degrees to 37.5. We always send you home with a thermometer. I don't know why we don't use them. Let's use them to know. And when you open the baby, expose them for a bit, for about 2-3 minutes, then take a temperature and you're able to tell. If your baby is not ranging within that range, we're in trouble. If it's an infection, it could be higher. And the normal range would be? 36.5 degrees to 37.5 degrees. So you want to know, am I in that area? A lot of our babies, it's cold. You may take a temperature and find my baby is 36. We need to actively warm that baby. Are there skin reactions that the baby could potentially display if they're too warm or if they're too cold? Definitely. There is the famous heat rash we all have on our babies. It looks like a blistered rash, and when you blanch it this way, it looks white. It typically doesn't have pus in it, but you'll find it starts from around the head, behind the ears, and goes down. So the places that you tend to sweat the most, here and at the back, you'll always find heat rash. The beauty about it, nothing needs to be done. Adjust your clothing, and it will settle. Right. Yes. We talked about kangaroo mothering, and just looking at that as a way of preventing the baby from the cold, in what other instances would it be necessary to perhaps kangaroo the baby, bring them to skin contact, aside from perhaps just trying to keep them warm? When would it be necessary to do this for the baby? Right at delivery. Right at delivery. You'll find our body temperature is at 36, but I've delivered you, today it's 16 degrees. Assuming we have a room that's warm, maybe we are 22, your baby is cold. So we actually, when you get a normal delivery, we actually expect you to put the baby on the chest and we cover and ask that nature takes its course and you're able to warm your baby up. So these are some of the things, we call them a warm chain, just to make sure that the room is the right temperature. We make sure the baby has been put on skin to skin, of course initiate breastfeeding. Remember, these little people don't have fat to generate heat. You and I shiver. They don't. Have you ever seen a baby shivering? This age, they don't shiver. Yeah. So they need to produce heat from somewhere. So the older you are, you have a bit of fat to burn. But the little ones, they don't. That's why they get cold so quickly. So the little food that you had given in terms of breast milk is utilized for heat production as opposed for growth. So it's important to remember, it's not, their physiology is not what yours and mine is. It happens with time. Their skin is also extremely thin when they're born. As they grow older, it thickens. Yeah. These guys have been swimming for 9 months. You and I, after 30 minutes in the water, we look like maca. We are very dry. Yeah. So their skin, remember, is still wet. So it's able to also conduct quite a bit of cold air waves as well. So they need to be dried, they need to be warm. From the shower, you've gone home, your baby is a week cold, you've given a shower, the room maybe was a bit colder than you expected, you can actually also put the baby on that kangaroo position until they get warm. Right. Yes. Dr. So allow me to digress a bit. You're a new mom, you have a flu or a cough, and you're handling your baby this entire time. How to keep this newborn safe from a potential infection? I mean, you're a new mom, so you're breastfeeding. The baby is with you, I think, about 99% of the time. So what are the dangers that lie therein? You've got this viral flu, or you've got whatever type of infection, but are handling this baby. So we talked about the toddlers, the older siblings, and perhaps the nannies in the house, and educating them on keeping the baby safe from infection, but for the mother as well, before we go too far from that particular element of other parties and potential infections to the babies. I think COVID brought us face masks. Don't forget, you can use them. They help contain what you'd blow out in terms of infection. And because you're with the baby throughout, mask up. 4 or 5 hours, or you feel that mask is too wet, remove it, wash your hands. The beauty about you caring for your baby is you're very cognizant of the fact that you're very likely to pass this infection. But the beauty is your body has produced some antibodies to fight that infection. And as you're breastfeeding, you're transmitting them to your baby. So they're already miles ahead in terms of infection control. of just not contracting that infection. So breastfeed your baby. Don't keep away from them. When you're unwell, please seek healthcare. Go in. Don't assume this is a flu. I'll be fine. Pregnancy is a state that pushes your boundaries. And we're told, I mean, you're closest to death when you're pregnant. I mean, things change.
Yeah.
And it takes a while. We give you 6 weeks to say that your body has readjusted back. So remember, your immunity is lower. You have someone growing in you. We want them to grow well. So there's a way your body adjusts to accommodate a baby. That period also leaves you vulnerable as well. So care for yourself. If you notice someone has a flu, don't engage. If you do get the flu, mask up, get medical care, hydrate, just the usual things you would do, and keep washing your hands. Because you'll blow your nose, and then baby cries. You go pick them up. You've literally moved this to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've talked about daytime, and typically in this cold weather, it gets colder at night. The temperatures really drop. So the safest way to keep your baby warm at night during these very incredibly cold nights. Yeah.
Your electricity bill is going to go up because you're going to need to warm the rooms. There are many different types of heaters available in the market. There are those that blow air. There are those that are just coils that warm up. We have oil heaters. Whatever your pocket adjusts to, you can warm the room.
Yeah.
And then a lot of our babies, when they're this small, we tend to buy bassinets to put them in. Remember, the bassinets are padded all around, and then they usually have a mosquito net cover. So that locks in warm air inside that, inside the coat. So that helps. If your baby gets very cold and you notice they're sniffling, you can actually just pick your baby up and cover them. So what ends up happening is they're breathing in that warm air from you. And that's usually enough to get us through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of outings, we're going back to the day now. Handling outings with a newborn during cold spells. Are there situations where it's perhaps best to stay indoors?
I mean, if it's raining, where are you going? Yeah, but if it's also 15 degrees, my question is, what is the benefit of the outing? For you, is it mom who needs a break? Or is it the baby who's going out for their vaccines?
Yeah.
We are creatures of habit. So if I'm used to going to the supermarket, after being in the house for 3 weeks, I need an out. That's why you have care, and that's why you have help, and that's why we ask for it. So if the baby has been breastfed and you've produced some milk for us, and you need to get out, get out. Go for your 1 hour and come back. Your baby, the outings, I tend to ask you to restrict them, even in terms of visitors. You find that our vaccination schedule in Kenya begins at birth, where we give you polio and we give you BCG. Those essentially prevent debilitating polio and will prevent TB in case you're exposed. But they don't take care of things like rotavirus. They don't sort out meningitis. They don't sort out tonsillitis and causes of pneumonia. That battalion of vaccines that we give, we initiate it at week 6. Reinforce it at week 10 and do it again at week 14. So if we're talking about engaging with a baby being out and your baby is 5 weeks, what protection do they have?
Right.
Not much.
In terms of car safety and keeping the baby safe in the car without compromise, keeping the baby safe in the car without compromising their safety, what would you advise a parent? Would you advise a parent handle that?
For me, I expect that baby to be in a car seat. It's necessary. And the one appropriate for age, we have different versions. We have birth to 13 kilos and assigned in the right space. You can't have a car seat, Lillian, and place it at the front because you want to look at your baby as you drive. None of you are safe. It's supposed to be placed in the rear seat and it is supposed to be facing backward so that if we get into an accident, the baby is cocooned and is safe and placed that way. In most countries out there, you actually can't leave hospital without having a car seat in your car. The way we escort you out once you have delivered your baby and we take you to your vehicle and send you home, especially you find that not necessarily in our public centers, but everywhere else, you'll find the babies have to be placed in a car seat. So it is for your baby's safety. It has to have a 5-point harness. It has to have a headrest for the baby. Remember, they're not able to hold their heads in place. So it's not just any car seat. We need to be keen about what we are using to ensure that safety is paramount.
What are some of the common mistakes that parents make when they're trying to keep their newborn babies safe?
Wow.
I mean, we've talked about from your baby shower to perhaps your grandma, your mom, just bringing all these lovely blankets your way. But there's also some, you know, old wives' tales around, for instance, dehydration and the heater, and you know, just a lot of misconceptions out there.
Yeah.
And so everybody's just trying to figure it out. You know, this is how you keep your baby safe. So some of the common mistakes that should be avoided even as we try to keep these babies warm.
Okay. One, let me allude to the feeding. When we start feeding babies, we encourage you to do it within the first 30 minutes of delivery. And we ask that we sustain that breastfeeding every 3 hours. Typically, their tummy is empty every 3 hours. So we find when your baby is very well swaddled, this baby will sleep for 5-6 hours. That blood sugar is going to drop. And it will drop drastically because a baby should be fed every 3 hours or so. Their tummy is empty within 3 hours, so there's nothing left in the tank. And the best way to actually know your baby is very well hydrated is how many wet diapers you're getting in a day. So we are looking for anything between 5 during the day and 3 at night. So we want 8 to 10 diapers. You also want an active feed. You don't want a dream feed. So of course, when we load the babies up, they fall asleep. So when you're feeding your baby, undress that baby. Change that diaper so that you're able to track what are the volumes that I gave the last feed. Was it a good feed? Was it not a good feed? Watch the clock. A lot of us just let the baby sit there and they fall asleep. Baby should actively pull and actively feed for at least 20 minutes for you to talk about a good feed. If they haven't done that, they haven't gotten enough. So you find your baby is up in an hour. The other thing is babies are never burped. So you feed the baby, but you don't expel the air. Within 30 minutes of you waking, of putting the baby down to sleep, they're up. And you assume you didn't get enough. So what do? I pick you and I put you back on the breast. So I have food, gas, food, gas, food, gas. What do the babies do? They cry.
Yeah.
And mom says, my baby has colic and we're not coping and we're not doing well because you're the one expected to offer care and offer direction for this baby. So mom who's not happy, remember they will come together. The baby is not settled, mom will not be settled. Milk will disappear. What happens to us from there? It means your baby is in danger of getting dehydrated. And unfortunately, if a baby doesn't get a good feed today, tomorrow, the next day the kidneys decide, I'm not on board. And they begin to shut down. Just 2-3 days of not giving a proper feed. So breastfeeding has to happen every 3 hours. Let's agree. It's not wait for the baby to wake up. Initially, when you start, feed that baby.
This applies to mothers who are also using the bottle because perhaps they don't
have enough milk.
Yeah?
Yes. We need to initially make sure that we are feeding you well. And everything that is done has to be reassessed to see where is the benefit of what we have done. So please go in for those reviews. When your baby is born, we want to see you within 2 weeks. Why? All babies lose weight. Remember, we had a nice, I usually say we had KFC, dial delivery and the food arrives. The placenta is there. But now I have to work for my food. My temperature is not a constant anymore, especially now that it's cold. So am I getting enough or am I burning energy to give me that warmth that I'm looking for? I wasn't passing stool. Now I'm passing stool. So there are many things that change in that transition. And babies, we need to know how much weight have they lost? Have they regained it? Is your feeding sufficient for your baby or not? So a baby was born 3 kilos. You come in to see me at 2 weeks and your baby is 2.6 kilos. We haven't regained your birth weight because we have a curve where we expect by the 14th day the weight should be back. So I'm already worried. This is not a mother I want to see at 6 weeks because I may find you at 3 kilos at 6 weeks. Achieving of milestones, brain development, growth of the body is a consequence of how well you feed this baby in the first year of life. So if that's not happening, your baby is not going to sit on time. Your baby won't smile at you when you expect them to smile at you. And of course, now this brings other concerted issues to, is my baby growing well? Is it a special needs baby? What do I need to do? So tracking to see how your baby is doing is essential. Feeding of mom, fluids. If she does not get at least 3 to 4 liters of fluid a day, the volume of her milk is not going to be what we want it to be. Milk is a consequence of 2 things. What you feed gives you the quality, and what you drink gives you the volumes. We need to look at both.
Right.
One of the other myths that are there is we say we have to give you fermented porridge, we must give you jahes to give you milk. Eat a balanced diet. We need your protein for you to heal and for the baby to grow. We need to give you carbs for you to do your things in terms of energy production for you every day. So eat well. The other myth we have from moms is we need to sugar the babies. For lack of a better word, they need to be bounced up. They don't.
And that makes them happy.
That makes the shushus very happy.
No, that makes the baby happy. There's
Yes.
this, I mean, are you stressing the baby?
You're stressing the baby, because if I pick you and I continuously shake you, it is not a soothing effect. It isn't. So it comes from a place of love, I think, to be able to see how to settle the baby. I think we shock them into silence. I don't think we are loving them in that space. If you just hold the baby and walk, if it's a movement to a soothing kind of sway you're looking for, any of us can pick that baby and any of us can walk. None of us rock at the same pace. None of us rock at the same way. But remember, this little one, their brain tracts are very, very, very sensitive. And I'm sure you've had a bit of shaken baby syndrome. It doesn't necessarily happen because a mother was depressed or the baby was mishandled. Just this continuously is enough to do that. So hold the babies, love the babies, hold them and walk. You don't have to shake them.
Yeah.
Yes. And even if your hand just keeps moving, it has to be extremely gentle. Yeah.
Talking about myths, so we're told to exclusively breastfeed for 6 months. And this is the cold weather season. And perhaps a nanny or a grandma, a guardian decides to introduce warm porridge because it's cold and, you know, this porridge is nice and warm. And the baby perhaps is not even on breast milk, but is being bottle fed. And so that interruption in terms of the milk, substituting that for warm porridge, warm soup, because it's a liquid anyway.
The ideal, of course, is breast milk. But there are circumstances where that's not available. So the idea is to feed your baby to grow with the most appropriate feed. Lilian, a baby learns to hold their head. We expect them to do that by the time they're about 3 months. By 4 months, we are teaching you how to sit. By 6 months, I expect you to have sat without support. So for Priya, I need to be able to have sat you down like this. So she's able to sit.
She needs to sit on her own.
She needs to sit on her own.
Right.
If I was to feed you now and ask you to recline on your seat, you're going to straighten up and then take the food that we are offering you. These are choking hazards for your baby. There's also swallowing reflexes that kick in anytime from between 5 and 6 months. So there are certain cues we need to see that your baby is ready to feed. Traditionally, I was told my mother fed me at 3 months and I turned out okay.
Right.
With new knowledge, I think facilitates us to be able to learn to do better than what was given to us, if that is possible. So babies, if you really must feed, please consult. Let's make sure that the milestones needed are attained. And you'll find you may start that porridge early at 3 months. And what happens is when you come to see us, your baby's weight has plateaued. The rate at which we expect them to grow every month is not happening because the caloric value of what we are giving is not there. It's interesting to find that you have about 2 grams of protein in every 100 mils of milk. That's about 3-4 pieces of meat. So you can imagine you move from that to porridge, which is pure carb. Because we'll give maize meal or we'll pick maybe wimbi. You're not adding milk to it. You're not adding anything. So it's carbs you're giving. And we know you need energy, giving food is carb. But bodybuilding is protein.
Yeah.
We need that protein. So the baby needs to wait until they're ready to feed. So push as far as you can get to. Let's look at alternatives of what milk is available. I work in both the public and the private space, and you'll find some of my mothers tell you, I have, for example, triplets. I'm able to breastfeed 2. 1 is faltering in weight. My pocket does not allow me to buy formula. So I look around and see what can we get you that is still a milk feed that will allow you to get to closer. Whether if it's you're able to sit down at 5 months and we look and we see you have a swallowing reflex, you're able to grab a piece of, because we teach you how to have hand-eye coordination at 4 months. We assume that feeding just happens. It doesn't. It's such exciting things to do to feed a baby who is ready to be fed. You'll find they're interested in your food. You try and drink a cup of tea, they swipe it. So those are the cues you're looking at to know my baby is now ready to feed.
Yeah.
A lot of what we have, in as much as it is organic and it's in natural form, we have a lot of food allergens that are around. You'll find certain milk, my baby will have a cough, and I withdraw the milk or the milk products, and you find my baby starts thriving. Or I had been told my baby has asthma. What are the versions that are available as options for that? And I'm sure that's a talk you can take up for another day.
Yeah, indeed.
But look at it that way.
Okay. Right, Dr. in terms of electric heaters, hot water bottles, we talked about electric heaters, but the use of this in the room, they have a totally drying effect, even for me as an adult. Every time I turn on the heater, I'll get a throat issue in the morning. Yeah. So in terms of the electric heaters, how to use them to keep the baby warm, and then the hot water bottles as well, how advisable is this to put this in the baby's crib?
I think if you're going to use a hot water bottle, put it in to warm the blankets. Once they're warm, remove it.
Right.
Because the sustained heat will cause a burn. And the baby is not old enough or sensitive enough to start crying until the burn has already happened. So use it to warm in. Once you're warm, out. Leave the blankets warm, put the baby in those warm blankets. They will be able to sustain the heat. If they get cold, put them on. We tend to put the heaters on and go to sleep and forget. Even for you as an adult, as you said, you cannot manage that. Some heaters come with thermostats. But for me, the general rule is use it when you need it, while you're actually there monitoring, and when you don't need it, switch it off.
Right.
Switch it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when my baby was little, a nanny I had advised that we use that you need to have some water next to the heater, because the heater has a drying effect. And I don't know. For me, it was kind of not making sense because of the sense that, first of all, there could be an electric fault. There's water there, there's wires there, there's a heater there. So already the hazard that lies therein. So a lot of misconception around the use of the heater as well, and the dehydration effect on the baby.
I think what you're trying to do is humidify and warm the air. There are humidifiers that are available, and they are warm mist humidifiers, not cold mist. So there are ways to get around what you're looking for. But if it's just warming, let's also not break the bank in trying to extend too much comfort. If, for example, we're talking to a mother who lives in Makueni, how is she warming her baby?
Yeah. Actually, talking about that, parents or new mothers in rural settings, we're talking about, modern setting where there's electricity, where you have the luxury of plugging in your heater to the socket. But in rural settings, how does a mother in those areas, for instance, maneuver through this cold season with a new baby?
One, they sleep with their babies. Dangerous or how good that is, they sleep with their babies. And what they end up finding is they're actually more cognizant of when their baby is hot and when their baby is cold. But if you're between two warm bodies, you're breathing in warm air. These houses are usually not big. They're smaller spaces, which means it's easier to warm a smaller space. You tend to find them showering their babies in the afternoon when there's a bit of sun. We try and encourage them as much as possible to use gas. So when they use gas if you're in a small room, you've used gas to cook your meal, you've used that same gas to warm your baby's water. Shower that baby at that time because the room is already warm. Finish, dry, warm, ramp them up. Put them in that kangaroo, they warm up, dress them up quickly, breastfeed them, and then you cover. Yeah. And you find their babies actually grow very well. So we need to find, walk the tightrope and find a balance on both ways. But I think for electricals, be aware when you're using them, be awake when you're using them, don't leave them. It's a hazard. Putting a bowl of water in front of a heater, you need to first warm the plastic that water is in, or metal. That's another hazard. But also, if you're looking for warm mist, let's find the warm mist. You talked about sleeping with your baby, but this could also be potentially dangerous for the baby. So the safest way to co-sleep with your baby when it's necessary. So you sleep with your baby there. And then there's also the fact that once you put the baby in, and this is an African thing, we don't mind putting our babies in the bed, but perhaps in the Western world you find that they have the nurseries set and the baby goes straight to the nursery from the hospital. But here, sleeping with your baby, how long will that baby ever, when will that baby ever leave that bed? And then there's the issue with the marriage as well, getting affection, because there's this little human between the two of you. But just going back to trying to keep your baby safe. So your baby is in the bed with you, and the safest way to do this. Is it possible to just have a small cot next to your bed? A
Moses cot?
Yes, just next to your bed. Yeah. They're in a space where they know they sleep alone. Let me tell you the truth. The minute they get used to body heat, why would I sleep there on my own?
Yeah.
And they'll knock on your door when they are 5 or 2 years. Open for me, I'm here, let's go. So I would actually say, if you can get a small bassinet or a Moses cot or a cot right next to your bed, you're able to feed them, burp them, put them in. And if you need to check, you're right next to the baby. That I don't think is a far stretch for us to ask, for us to do. Even in hospital, you realize we don't let you go sleep with your baby. We bring the baby in a cot. And even when you've finished, you've fed and you've burped, we put them in that cot. We wrap them up, put them in a safe position, and we tell you your baby's next to you. Believe me, when the baby cries, you will hear them.
Yeah.
If that baby's in your bed, I don't know how well you sleep. Because for me, I would rather have 2 hours of complete sleep, of rest, wake up and get up to feed again, as opposed to where we are not too sure we've slept on your baby or what has happened. Remember also there are times you may not burp your baby well. Your baby is sleeping next to you and they start wriggling and you're wondering what's going on. But you're so tired, you sleep. You can smother your baby in that bed. Yes.
Talking about moving the baby to a nursery, African or un-African as it may be, or some people may just not afford the luxury to have an extra room to keep your baby. When is too early to move your baby into their own independent room? Would you advise that the baby instead sleeps next to the mother in a cot, like you said?
Yes, if they're in a cot and they're sleeping, once the baby, I think, is able to sleep through the night, typically. Right. I think you find mom is a bit more settled to be able to release her baby to another room. There are different things. Out there, they have baby monitors, so they're able to hear. I think with time, you always hear your baby even when they cry. My children are quite old, and I still hear them wake up at night. So I think it has variability. That's not one-size-fits-all kind of statement of when do I move you to your own room. Like you said, there are houses where we have 3 children, we have 1 room. They all sleep in 1 room. So if you have the option where the baby can move, I would say let the baby at least be able to sleep through the night comfortably.
Yeah.
So then now you're able to move your baby. If some are more comfortable earlier, I think we'll be able to work with the mom to know what are your family dynamics, what are your beliefs, what space do you have, and what can we do.
Yeah. Practical tips, Dr. Maureen, for nighttime diaper changes without exposing the child to cold. It's cold, you're probably going to change a diaper, need to change a diaper or 2 in the course of the night. So how to do that without exposing this child to the cold?
I think preparation first. A lot of us, initially when we get home, we have not thought of how we are going to run, how we set up our homes. So you need to have a small station of sorts. If it's going to be in your room where you have your cotton wool set up, you have a small bowl, a lot of us do warm water and cotton for the first few days. So have that ready with you. Whatever you're going to place your baby in, try and get something that you can actually just strip the bottom, lift. So I don't have to remove the whole outfit to change the diaper, especially at night. Just remember, simpler is best. I've seen interesting outfits that are opened from the back. They look pretty, but they're not practical.
Yeah.
So open up, change your diaper. That means I've only essentially exposed until there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The bottom part.
Just the bottom part. It is a good thing for the baby to get a bit of cold. Remember we said we don't want a dream feed, we want an active feed. So by the time that diaper has been changed, be quick. Have your Macintosh or whatever you're putting underneath, change your diaper, put the diaper back on, zip up, and then pick your baby up now to be able to feed. It's not the time to put on all the lights in the house.
Yeah.
No. See if you have a small night light that you can use or a dim light that you can use to just be able to allow you to see. Do what you need to do. Have a ready dustbin or somewhere just to be able to dispose of that diaper. Please remember to wash your hands when you're done and then feed your baby. Essentially, we're saying we're going to feed these babies every 3 hours. By the time these babies hit 4 or 5 kilos, they start stretching their time of how long they're sleeping. By then, we've also done your 2-week review, and we know that you're adding weight and you're growing, which is now when we transition to tell you, okay, now we can actually start let the baby sleeping longer, even as we know they are growing. That is going to allow you to do fewer feeds at night, which helps you in the course of time. Do you need to have a heater on? Not necessarily. Remember, we put the baby in a bassinet. They're quite nice and warm. So if you're quick about how you're doing your things, your baby should not get cold. But then remember, less exposure, how fast and efficient you can be as you change those diapers, and keep tracking.
We talked about vaccines, but do supplements play any role in protecting newborns during this cold season?
We have different supplements we give. Typically, we give them to preterm babies, but they're very targeted, either towards brain growth, towards preventing vitamin D deficiency. You find maybe third trimester, typically, this baby comes early. So you find everything that was supposed to be deposited in this little one didn't get there. Typically, it tends to be vitamin D. They may or may not have a low calcium.
Yeah.
They may or may not have a low iron level, because you'll find if mom was already anemic, didn't have enough blood, it will happen to be the same case in the baby. So they're very tailored. They are not, let's go and get whatever multivitamin that is available. So there are certain things we are looking for. We're looking for vitamin A, we're looking for vitamin C, we're looking for vitamin D3 to be able to help the babies grow and help with brain development. So those are there. In terms of vaccines that we give, we alluded to what is available even within the first year of life. We have the BCGs, we have the big cohort that is given at 6, 10, and 14 weeks. After that, the next available vaccine is a flu vaccine. We have an annual vaccine that is, should I say, variated every year based on what kind of flu season we have had. So for first year of life, we offer it at 6 months, and we offer it again at 7 months. It does help in terms of reducing the propensity of flus that you get and the duration in which you get them for. If it is a family where you have allergies, we know I get the sniffles when it's cold, I have eczema, my mom has asthma, my brother has asthma, it would benefit you because you're already at a higher risk of getting those flus anyway, and they take a lot more out of you.
Yeah.
So those, I would encourage you to get those flu vaccines in. They change every year. I think the new variant for this year is readily available in the market in the last 2 weeks. So that is something that I would advocate for you to get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Skincare, advice that you can give on skincare for newborns during this cold season?
Now, I think my pet project has been, babies are showered. We have this myth that babies get cold, so we don't shower them. I don't know how long you can take without taking a shower. I need one morning and evening. Just, I guess, work hazard, but it makes me relax. And there's a way, the freshness that you get after a shower. Why are we not giving it to children? You'll find a baby who has not been showered per se in terms of we're talking about the umbilical cord hasn't fallen off. So is it really safe to wash my baby? It is safe to wash your baby. Wash your baby, warm the room so they don't get cold. Get the water temperature right. Warm your baby as you shower them, dress them, and then now we talk about skin product. Remember, we said the skin absorbs about 3 times more than what yours and mine does. And a lot of us currently, I think, enjoying mafuta ya ng'ombe on our babies. All I'll say on the matter is moisturize your baby's skin. Their skin also, it's prone to getting a lot of boils and infections, especially when you don't shower. So wiping your baby and then layering another load of oil, and then in the evening I come, I wipe you again and load again, you can imagine how that skin is going to look after a few days. Please wash the babies. Use mild products, something that will moisturize your skin. Don't use scented products. They tend to irritate the skin as well, and they are many. So, I mean, I'm sure with your pediatrician, you can look and see what is available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of eczema cases. Yeah. I mean, eczema is on the rise for some reason. What do you attribute that to?
I think environment, 1. 2, sometimes what we tailor as eczema is your baby reacting to the environment. A lot of it you tend to find is on the face, on the cheeks. Where do we kiss our babies? Yeah. On the face and on the cheeks. I have a different product on my face. You have something different. We've come to say hi to the baby. By the time we've left, we are flared up. Some of the products also are not as refined as what we had when we were growing up. So what is it that you're picking up and what is it that you're using? I decide that my pocket will allow me to go and shop in toy market. You're going to get very nice things there. You wash them. You bleach them. They are not completely washed out. You've not rinsed them out. So your baby is sitting in bleach. Their skin is going to react. Right. So not every rash is eczema, and not every rash needs to be addressed. So a rash that has pus in it, we need to look at it. A rash that is seeping water, is red, it's painful, we need to look at it. Others just need a tweak here and there. But of course, this is in consultation with your pediatrician. Yeah.
And, you know, as we close, 18 countries in Europe have issued a heat alert. So we're talking about two extremes. We're talking about it being very cold here, but we know that we also move into seasons where it's extremely hot. So in Europe right now, we know that that is an issue. So for anybody who's watching us from there, who has a newborn, or a little baby in the house, how to handle that in terms of also, you know, keeping the baby
Cool.
cool. Yeah, it's the complete opposite, but also very, very important. And also for our viewers who perhaps are watching from the coastal regions, Turkana as well, very humid parts of the country, Kisumu, how to handle those two extremes?
I think everything in moderation. One item, you can even stay without any. Dry heat is not your friend. Sometimes, there's a time I was in Garissa, we would actually just take warm cloths and just dab the baby to cool down the skin.
Right.
Make sure the ventilation is how it needs to be. Open up those windows, allow air to circulate through the room so that you're able to just even breathe easier for yourselves. For them, I'm sure they're using a lot of AC. I would actually ask you to use a fan instead of an AC because that has its attendant problems. There are bugs that we host in that AC that we blaze out. So use the fans just to ventilate the areas. See how best you can sit out in open areas. Upper decks tend to be cooler because the wind is blowing in as well. Yeah, and then just keep the baby comfortable. Even if it means you keep changing clothes, keep changing. Some of them tend to get a lot of diaper rashes because it's too hot as well. Yeah. So they can also stay without a diaper, give them time to breathe away from that. You can just have a liner put at the bottom to help them cool off. I'll be getting your winding remarks, Dr. Maureen Moretti is a neonatologist on neonatal care. The 3 must-knows, must-dos for a new mother as we close. It matters how you start, so plan for that baby. Have a village that helps you take care of that baby and sift through what it is that you're looking for. Look for a pediatrician. Look for somebody to help you walk this journey. It is easy to do. And enjoy. Motherhood should be enjoyed, not endured. Finally, where can you be found, Dr. Maureen? Public space, I work in Pumwani Maternity Hospital. Privately, I run a clinic called M&M. All right. And we'll share the contacts. Thank you very much. We've been talking to Dr. Maureen Moretti. She's a neonatologist. She's walked us how to keep your baby warm. And thank you very much to our other little guest here in studio, Priya. That's it for us. But before I let you go, a father jumped into the ocean to save his daughter after she fell from the 4th deck of a Disney cruise ship traveling from the Bahamas to the US on Sunday afternoon. Videos showed passengers cheering as the two were pulled onto a rescue boat after apparently treading water for 10 minutes. The girl appeared to fall when her father took her picture against a railing. That's what witnesses said. And a man overboard alert was broadcast on the ship and crew rushed to recover them. Several US media outlets described the girl as a child.
¿Qué pasó?
Yeah, I only saw one fall, but I didn't see the other person. I thought it was only one person.
And that can only be described as a miracle. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Lillian Willie. Have a lovely day.